Oh yes, we're going to wrap the daily up nice and fast in part 3. I got really into that moment in the gameplay, because I think that this is like a really key, interesting moment of what the hell do we do with the gas? And I just love that he's getting the sentries up right after these two bad boys to coincide with that attack timing. Yes, MMA is playing a little standard, you know, just getting his command center after the 3 barracks. He's going to have to harass while he's doing that, while he gets up barracks 4 and 5 in the meantime. So let's zoom ahead. And let's... Oh, I think the volume hasn't increased. I don't think that bug has struck yet. But yeah, most importantly of all is the probes. Probes and workers, so important. So I'm liking the setup that he's got going. Oh yeah, this weird defensive angle. He's covering himself from drops in the main base. Notice these stalkers are not here, because stalkers here accomplish the same thing as having an observer here. The stalkers cover the position that he doesn't have vision of, where incidentally there are units. So good! I love Sage. What a beautiful positioning right there. Love it. This, though, is like freaking odd. If a big giganto force comes up the front... Okay, this is actually one of the weirder bits of analysis. And sometimes we do long analysis and it gives us a very simple answer. And the simple answer is position yo shit here. So, one of two things is going to happen as far as this army is concerned. One, all of Terran's units barrel up the front. In which case, we really do need a ramp. If this army was, say, positioned right here, then it would be really hard to get the force fields all the way there without having some, you know, dudes sneak up along there, some dudes sneak up along there. So here is where we can have the ramps advantage from that huge attack. Either a huge attack is going to come to the front, or there's going to be a drop here. And this drop will not be the huge attack. It will be some of the Terran units, which means at most only some of these units can be here. If there's only some units, or some units, then it's okay for these guys to poach out. So in other words, this observer checks for drops here. And because there is a drop, it means that it is now safe for these units to get out. Are we all cool? Are we all cool? Alright, so again, we don't know if he split up his army or not, so we're going to check the drop positions, and we're going to be in this spot, which is actually not so great for drops. But we're going to trust in our ability to get into a good position quickly enough. So here he comes, getting into a good position quickly enough. Whew! I mean, this is just freaking immaculate positioning. And look at this. He still sees it. Trust me, Sage does see this, otherwise he wouldn't be warping in this other stalker right here. But he still has these guys cleverly covering this area where he doesn't have vision. So good. I mean, I really thought this positioning was divine. De-frickin-vine. So, of course, Twilight Council comes up, double forge upgrade, nothing surprising about that. 5 of these guys. What to come of this? What to come of this Twilight Council? Oh, taking it out. As we start to feel a little bit of safety, generally 12 to 13 is where these extra geysers will go down. For Terran, it's a little easier because you just look at what you're building to determine whether those geysers should be going down at the 3rd. Spotted everything. I will actually give you the glorious satisfaction of seeing him position this perfectly. Takes some pretty swift reaction time to be able to deal with this drop here and this drop here so astutely, so adroitly. And even microing well. Ooh, baby. So here's a position where I think a lot of circumstances, certainly I used to do this a lot. I'd be like, all right, let's get some charge going up in this bad boy. Yeah. However, we've built so many stalkers that we can get a little extra value out of the stalkers from Blink. And more importantly, I just think Blink is a great tool for taking a defensive army and snapping it up into aggression. This is more of a let's get a sense of his composition observer. This is not a I'm going to reposition my army observer. That's what this guy and this guy and this guy are for. This one permits us to do one thing. position this army down here. But even then we see Sage kind of teasing the idea of heading all the way up on high. And one thing I'll note just briefly one more time. Why is it okay for us to have this army down on low ground? Because this army is capable of dealing with a direct, full, joined army force from MMA. That's why it's down here. In that position where we were insecure, we would leave it there and rely on this positioning to help us with drops, and this positioning to help us see the full army coming in. Also, why Zealots? We're not getting the upgrade for them. Zealots act as a sort of mini force field. They act as the mineral equivalent of the force field, where we're spending a lot of gas on upgrades. We're spending a lot of gas on Colossus. We've lost a lot of gas by delaying these assimilators. We've spent gas on this blink. So, alack, we only have these original 3 sentries. Remember how important we said it was to get these sentries at 10 minutes? Because now, look at them. Oh, look at that. 4 force fields, 3 force fields, 2 force fields. Bless your little sentry hearts. I don't think these zealots are as significant. More stalkers are coming down, oh yeah. And of course, MMA upon throwing down these extra engineering bays, and soon enough, additional tech such as 3 barracks, such as a Ghost Academy. Thoink thoink, will double gas. NP, easy peasy. So yeah, I'm loving this tech transition. I love this. Setting it up, looks like Drooby's lagging out everyone. Pfft, the jerk. I said this in the last game, but these extra gateways are not really for the Stalker army. That is for the Zealot Archon army, because you just can't support constant Stalker production in that circumstance. I thought this was kind of a cool thing, that he delayed the gas expenditure on the Thermal Lance. That is how... I just thought that was magnificent. I actually forgot to mention this earlier on. I was blown away then, I was blown away now. The delay on the Thermal Lance. Why is that so significant? Because our Protoss buddy has been pretty gas-starved, because he's been pretty conscientious of not investing in things like sentries, and protecting them, and relying heavily on Stalkers. So he just said, alright, well, I'll go Stalker, Colossus, no range. No problem. Here are more Zealot Archon gateways coming up. In the production, we see no gateway units, and in fact, if we go to the structures and we begin selecting all these dudes, I will note that every single one of these warp gates has a warp in available. Every single one of them. And yet he is not warping in. What a boss. And here's where I imagine a spring getting loaded. Oh yeah, okay, pylon, pylon. I'm gonna get ready to expand. I have all idle gateways. Yeah, I know, it's cool. Loading up the spring. He's seen a lot more Vikings. He's seen quite the preponderance of Vikings, as a matter of fact. And I'll go back to the Sage camp. Seen quite a lot. So we see Archons getting morphed. Archons getting morphed actually before that many Zealots are getting morphed. 17 is basically one warp-in round of Zealots right now, other than those initial 7 that were put out. And the last little touch that I like, saying, yeah, I want value out of this robo facility. I'm not just going to build some Colossus and abandon ship. Nope. I'm going for the Immortal. All the slow dudes, the dudes that have the 2.25 move speed, oops, missed that selection, 2.25, 2.25, the non-stalker units, they stay home while these stalkers start to move out. And this is again the spring loading up. He's trying to slowly get his opponent to be a little pushed back. There's not a big danger of an army swinging up this way, because we already have some Zealots doing some monitoring. More gateways getting added on. There was an expansion. Every single one of these gateways is, or almost every single one of them, is not building. Leaving him idle. Leaving him idle. He's racking them up. And in one of the latest plus charge upgrades I have ever seen, we see him start to move out. I think it's kind of interesting that Sage is actually not getting these 3-3 upgrades quite yet. He could have started them for a while, and I think he maybe should have started them a little bit earlier. But his willingness to be like, no, yeah, I'll wait on that. 2-2 is the real big thing. I want to get my Zealot Archon army up. And in this circumstance, 4 Colossus. 3 is a little risky in this regard, but 4 does give you 2 or 3 extra critical shots. Just a few extra key shots from these colossus to wind up in this position. Shot as long as they could at the Vikings. Actually, not as long as they could at the Vikings before blinking in. And everything else is zealots. I love this pylon. It's like such a great pylon. This whole extra rounds of zealots is one of the big keys that, you know, is allowing them to step into this aggression. And there is absolutely no colossus production on the backside. Where did those 4 stalkers morph in? Oh, was there a drop here? I actually do want to back up and see that. I completely missed that last game. Nice. Nice. Or I should say last viewing of this game. This is just continued good coverage, vision coverage, Mothership core in between the 2 Nexi that he would most likely want to do that sort of shenanigans. There's our volume getting increased with the rewind bug. Go to 8%. You're grounded. Did he preemptively do that? When did he throw down that photon overcharge? He just did it preemptively. Yeah, he morphs in these stalkers, and I think that's fine. But gosh, that is like super preemptive. Oh wow, that's actually incredible planning. He's going, alright, I'm moving out to attack, and I know that there were some units left over in this general direction. So screw it, man. I'm just going to morph in a little bit of defense and photon overcharge. That's freaking badass, man. What a total monster, man. What a beast. Third base done, but man, that was great. Holy cow. Now, in regards to the composition, I like that he built up enough colossus. Like 4 colossus is a pretty big amount. 1 or 2 is generally where people will begin cutting things down a little bit. Or 1 or 2 is where I'd say, yeah, you were cutting it down a little bit. But he built enough colossus that MMA kind of had to build that many Vikings. Not so many colossus that MMA will be tricked into building too many Vikings. I think MMA kind of had an appropriate amount, but I just think that this timing that Sage set up for himself, and it's a pretty simple 3 base timing. And I say 3 base because, well, there's nothing going on at the 4th. And the last thing that I want to look at as we mute this is I will come back to this battle and just note this little probe here. I want to follow along with this probe. Alright, here he is. He's starting out back home. We have this probe chilling there. This probe is going to be the reinforced probe. If we end up performing an attack, we're going to send that probe out. Oh, he died. I just love this coordination. Here comes the probe. Preempting the attack. Go forward, noble probe. Go forward. Allowing for continued reinforced angles. Yeah, look at this probe doing his thing. Uh-oh. He's gonna die. Nope, nope, he's good. While this attack's going on, look at the noble probe. Look at the planning. Come, noble probe. Is he even hotkeyed? No, he's not. That's fine. Noble probe gets together with the attack. But these ones are quite important. Look, there's another noble probe coming forward. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait. Oh, Sage missed it. Oh, it's so embarrassing. But that's fine. Very often, Sage does this double pylon sort of thing, moves out. But a lot of Protosses will have another probe sort of sweep along this angle. So the attack is coming in from below, but it's like pylon, pylon, pylon. Leading on in. Good stuff. Now, because I'm closing out the show, I'd like you to go watch twitch.tv/itmejp. State of the Game is on. Oh, you should go check that out. I'd also like to take some questions. So let's go ahead and open the chat up to everyone. Let's go to the Mark Your Choa question grabber. Next week we're going to look at some Teja, Zerg vs. Terran, or Terran vs. Zerg games. Excuse me. And we'll take some questions with Markio's infamous question grabber. F5. let's see. Oh yeah, this is a question from Dovakim. How do you get in on the mana battles? Well, you show up tomorrow at 10 a.m. and hang out until 5 p.m. because we'll be playing all day. And if you're a subscriber, if you have the golden 9 next to your name, there will come a time when I will say, please begin spamming the chat with your name and character code, and then I'll just invite everyone to the game. My ally in the 2v2v2v2s for at least some of the games will be Marth Vader. Yeah. Lazy Leech asks what I think about throwing in some more Widow Mines into this play. I'm kind of about the Widow Mines. I really am unsure. I mean, the fact is, Widow Mines eat into the Marine Marauder count quite a bit, and part of me would really just want more Marines and Marauders. I mean, each Widow Mine is basically a Marauder. It's a little bit cheaper, but in effect, it's basically a Marauder for the cost investment. So I'm imagining, actually, I would say 2 Widow Mines being built at once is about a Marauder and a half. So if I imagine 1.5 fewer barracks producing all game long, I don't know. I want the Marauder. And Widow Mines force the Terran player to be packed together. So I guess I'm not saying that it's good or bad. I'm just saying, well, it'll kind of force Terran to be a little bit more packed together. Have all his stuff sort of smushed, and we'll have to be retreating back over the mines. I think it could be interesting to, for instance, against a Stalker Colossus player, pop up some Widow Mines, focus on the Viking count, and to cut Ghosts. And then if he begins transitioning into Zealots, you just stim and kite backwards over the mines to annihilate most of the Zealots, because that's where I think they'd be strongest. But in that position, I would say, why are you not building Hellbats? It seems like a little bit better. Leon9 says, Dana, is there any way for Protoss to be aggressive before the 10-minute mark? Yeah, Swift Blink is really a good answer, because you obviously have to have a response to the very fast drop play. You can't just be like, oh, I want to defend that, because you'll die. So the Blink play, I think, is really good. Feast showcased this magnificently in his early round games versus Flash at the MLG Winter Championships. Using the Blink to hop up into the main to do some harassment. Because you have the Mothership core, you don't need to go down the Observer tech. You just hop up into the main if you sense weakness. And then, of course, with the Time Bomb, allows you to Time Bomb and then Blink out. That is a big one. And certainly with the Stargate tech as well. But not with basic Gateway Robotech. I'm kind of the opinion that Colossus are a lot weaker and Robotech's a lot weaker. I'm going to take 2 more. I don't want this to go on too long because I want you to go watch JP and State of the Game. I actually will take this from I Prefer Pie, who says, I see a lot of high-tier players kill off that small rock pile at the bottom of the small ramp. I have no idea what the thought process is behind it. Absolutely. I can tell you a little bit about it right here. Let me go back to the start. The rock pile that iPie is talking about is this one right here. This pile of rocks. There's 2 big reasons behind it. One, which is the smaller of the 2 reasons, is that a lot of times you'll want to block the ramp with buildings or put a building here, and you can't because the rocks are in the way. So for instance, if I were a Zerg player, I might want to do something like have Evolution Chamber with a small tiny entrance there. So I need to kill off the rocks so I can get my Evolution Chamber to fit just like that. So that's one. But the second and more important reason is there's times when you actually want your unit like right there, and you can't put the unit there because when you click there, it'll shoot at the rocks. So you need to be able to click there. This is most important for Zergs because, like, again, Evolution Chamber, Queen. You can't quite get the Queen to sit there properly if you are like, holy shit, here's the attack coming, and you want to click right there. You have to, like, click behind it and stop, hit the S button at the right time. It's a real pain. It's mainly to eliminate any issues with unit AI early on. Last question, last question. Water 666. The most demonic water I've ever heard. Really? Water 666? And it's just water? What? Came in and saw the end of that game where Sage was 4-based, MMA 2-base. What went wrong for MMA? And how would you rectify it? MMA actually had 3 bases in that game. Well, I'll answer the question for both games. What do I think MMA did wrong in this game? I actually think a big thing is a little bit of over-aggression in the drops. There were a number of drops that just got smoked. So I actually come to this unit tab. Here's a drop that's about to get smoked. Here's another drop up here. I think these kinds of drops are fine for being annoying and harassing the Terran player. But, you know, a couple units run the risk of getting lost there. Oops. These medevacs over here end up just getting freaking smoked. Here it comes. Here comes the smokening. Right here, I will note, there's a pretty good amount of Marines, Marauders. These barracks are going down. I think that the second engineering bay needs to go down pretty quickly here to support this. But watch this. Loses that medevac. Loses this medevac. And this is a lot of resources down. A lot of resources down the bucket. And so MMA, I think, reasonably says, well, let me try to get back in this with some more dropping play. But by 6 minutes... 16 minutes... yeah, here was yet another drop that was not really able to do damage. Was there another? I feel like there was one more really super fail drop. No, I guess that was that. But in this position, you know, MMA has 33 Marines, 20 Marauders. This is still a pretty good composition. He's not as ahead as he'd like to be, but this really stinks. Right before the engagement, running headlong into this, I think MMA could have waited just a pinch longer. And this is a very awkward angle that he got hit at. Ghosts in the worst possible position. Vikings in an extremely vulnerable position. I think he had vision of... Oh yeah, of course he did. He has the Colossus. So this could have been really bad for Protoss, but these dudes are just not in a good position. So there's the EMP going down really late, just on some zealots. I mean, it's... And then as this battle wraps up, 2-2 wraps up, the Ghost did not really do maximum damage. The Vikings did not really do maximum damage. So in this position, picking up and then cutting back around. I don't think MMA is... is he screwed quite yet? I guess he is kind of screwed, yeah. I was thinking maybe if there's some way that these guys could have come back sooner. Oh, they didn't go back. Maybe that actually... Do I think he could have held this off? He might have been able to hold that off. I mean, that was kind of brutal. In game number 1, I think the big reason is that MMA tried to over-predict. He tried to go, oh, I see Colossus, and I see those upgrades. You're probably going to go for Zealot High Templar. And he got Ghost too early, and not enough Vikings. It was just like a not enough Viking thing, because he was devoting so much to the drops. I'm done. I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. for them good old mono battles and 2v2v2v2s. If you do me a favor and head on over to day9.tv, there's another little competition that's going on. The fastest max, just submit to me a game of you trying to get to 200 supply with Terran as fast as possible, because I want an excuse to give away free shit. Most importantly, Mega Bloks Battle Cruiser. Oh my god. Oh my god. Thanks for watching, guys. I had fun. I'll see you at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Hopefully that was useful for you Protoss guys, maybe useful for you Terran guys, but most of all, I hope it was fun. I hope it was fun, because I enjoyed the games. Goodbye!